My name is Alexis, and I am the equity coordinator for Student Voice. Today, I will be helping us have a conversation on the struggles and thoughts about COVID-19 influence on our lives outside of the classroom, since we're all outside of the classroom. I know there are a plethora of different sources talking about how to stay healthy physically, but it's also extremely important to address other problems we may be experiencing outside of our physical health. And I think we need to know when we're at our limits. We want a very comfortable and constructive conversation for everybody. And I want everybody to feel as if they can speak whatever thought is on their mind. These are challenging and unprecedented times. So we want to take the time to see what's up, figure out ways to endure these times, and support each other in any way possible. So we have all been seeing the news, scrolling through social media, and going into empty grocery stores. So it's easy to see how hard our lives have been impacted. Some lives have been impacted in different ways. I think COVID-19 has exposed some very important issues around the world that need to be addressed. Now that school has moved to be completely digital across the country, there have been numerous situations where the rush to go digital has exposed instructional inequities, such as students not having access to internet, not having people who are emotionally available for some type of support, even isolation weighing on students, and a lack of different types of activities to support all types of learning. And nobody takes to the experience exactly the same. These problems are things that are not usually addressed due to in-person schooling being our prominent learning space. So I wanted to take the time to address all that is going on. I know a lot of people are under a tremendous amount of stress due to the inconveniences and pain that COVID-19 has caused. And I'm interested in hearing what you guys think about what's going on with digital learning and what we're doing as of now. So we're here to amplify your voices and figure out this struggle together. So let me see. So I have like a question that I want to start off with, just to get some thoughts in the air and hear some people's experiences. So what are some of the problems weighing on everybody's mind due to COVID-19 and digital learning? And it can be absolutely anything. It doesn't matter, like there's no range, just like things that are going on like in your head.
I can go. Can I go?
Yes.
I haven't started online classes yet. They'll start tomorrow, but I think like my biggest concern is like not having a study space. I'm very particular with the setting that I'm able to do my work in. So I would usually go to the library on campus, and not having that alternative, like I really feel like I'm gonna fail. I can't focus in my home. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that a lot of people are experiencing the lack of being able to have access to certain resources. So I definitely feel you on that.
Can I go?
Yes.
I think for me, it's more so I'm in college. I don't know how it looks for high schoolers, but for college, like for me, the professors continuing to assign the level of rigorous work. Like there's like students aren't living through a pandemic or like worried for family members. Like me, I haven't seen my mom since this quarantine has started. She lives on the other side of the state. And so like that's always on my mind. It's a lot of other things that's always on my mind, and my professors like continue to be very insensitive towards how they should hold the rest of the semester. They don't take anything into consideration or at all. So that's kind of really where I'm at with trying to maintain my mental health and not drop classes or flunked a semester because the professors aren't willing to work with students.
Yeah, that can definitely be a problem. And I feel like you're definitely not the only one who's experiencing that. Is anybody else experiencing those things as well?
Yeah, I'm in high school and I'm finding it difficult because I know that sometimes I know the teachers are trying, like at least in my school, their best, but it's difficult because they're still assigning, like I feel like they're taking the opportunity to assign more work even because they're like, oh, you're at home, you'll be able to do all this work, you can do more, we can get ahead for like when we go back. But then it's like, well, we just have like hours and hours of work, and it's difficult to kind of, I know there someone was saying earlier, like separate like where you're working and like where you're like living in your home, so it all gets muddled and it's all really confusing for me.
I
Yeah.
certainly agree with them feeling like they assign way more work now than they did during the semester. Like it's a struggle, and I feel like the professors also think that, or teachers overall, educators overall think that just because you're home, you're not doing anything, so you have more time to do more work when that's not the case. And it's just very frustrating.
Yeah, also I would argue that being at home, you also have new responsibilities and new routines. Like one thing I've struggled with is my brother has autism, and now that we are both cooped up in the house, I have to help him and look after him more often than not. So a lot of the new assignments get held off, and it's really hard, I feel like, to express that to teachers.
Yes, because I agree. I think it is hard, like sometimes for the teachers, because some just think because like they went through some kind of situation where they had to persevere through like a certain adversity that is probably not even same to the same level as what we're facing. That everyone should be able to kind of overcome what we're going through and still like do all the work. When I don't even know if like what tomorrow's gonna look like because it's just over. And I'm in New Jersey, so I'm in a state where it's all types of crazy going on here. So it's even more stressful, and it's just so stressful.
Yeah, I'm in New Jersey too. It's really scary. I used to volunteer with EMS, and like my sister is like immunocompromised, and like I can't volunteer anymore. And it's like it's really scary to just be in like a place where, I mean, I'm certain it's scary for everyone, but especially for people who are in New York and New Jersey and all the places that are kind of highlighted. It's really nerve-wracking. And I definitely feel like, just to go back to the thing with the teachers, there are definitely teachers who are accommodating and who are doing their best to work with the students as well. But you know, I guess it's people on both sides of the kind of the spectrum of, you have the teachers that they're trying really hard to work with the students, and then there's those who are just really not giving a crap and assigning all their homework. And I think it's difficult for most people and everyone to just try and find like a middle ground, because like someone was saying, I can't remember who it was, that like we have new responsibilities to take on since we're stuck at home, and this is just like a really difficult situation for everyone. So I'm trying myself to like kind of find where I lie in all of it.
I
I
agree.
have to agree with like the increase of work. Like I've experienced the same thing. I'm in high school in New York. And just what comes to my mind is like, like we keep on talking about like the increase in like equity gaps, all the existing inequities are like worsened by the minute due to COVID-19. And I just don't think it's fair that, someone who's worried about their parent losing their job, or someone whose parent has COVID-19, or someone who's deeply affected by this global pandemic has to worry about handing an assignment on time or getting 100 on their math test. I know I have a math test on Wednesday and I have a chem test tomorrow. And like, I just don't see how that is like, I'm having trouble like understanding, because this, like the students who are truly affected by this don't need to be worried about passing a test or keeping up with like the surplus of assignments. So I just feel like it's unfair and, like someone was saying, just really insensitive.
I understand what you say. Sorry for my English. I'm from Argentina. But we're all, this is new for all of us. And I think we just need to give it time, because teachers, they don't really know what to do, because they never went through this, or at least here in Argentina, I don't know if you've quarantined before. But so it's just a matter of time, and then I think I suppose things are going to accommodate a little better, and they're going to get easier. Luckily here in Argentina, there is not that much coronavirus yet. There is little infected, but we already started quarantine and we don't know when we are going to get out. And for us, the main problem is the social distancing more, or for me, it's more the social distancing, not being able to hang out with my friends or do work with my friends by my side, because that helped me a lot. And now working alone in my house, it's way more complicated.
Yeah, I really have to agree with Mateo there. There's a student that I mentor. He's an international student from China. And recently he was kicked out of our school because they thought he had COVID-19. That's a different story on its own. It's really bad. But now that he's alone, he's been calling me every day and he's going through this depressive state. And my heart just goes out to him. And it's really sad because there's so many kids out there who are just on social media like, hey, do this bingo game, I'm bored. Message me, I'm bored. Like I think that's the really big impact of quarantine, is that there's so many students who are now just left to themselves. And it's not exactly affordable to get access to therapy and other things that may help them for the time being. I think that's something that really, like, the response has just been ignoring.
I'd have to agree with you, because now, like, I think we're all kind of slaves to this idea that, like, we have to keep busy, we have to, like, keep our to-do list, like, stacked up, and now, like, we're forced to slow down, and, like, we're forced to, like, I don't know, I kind of like to think about it like we're all, like, snow globes, like, in the normal world, like, we're all, like, going, the snow, like, if you, like, were to, like, shake a snow globe, the snow falls, and now, like, the snow has, like, forced to, like, go to the bottom, and, like, now we're, like, dealing with, like, all the stuff that we struggle with or that bothers us, plus trying to, like, adjust to, like, this new way of learning. And like Mateo was saying, like, I'm sure the teachers are adjusting the same way, and, like, I think, like, eventually we will find that middle ground, but I think in the meantime it just raises a lot of uncertainty for students and teachers, and right now I just don't think it's at the most, like, equitable state it could be at.
Yeah. One of the other issues that I found is, like, the translation for the classes, like, physically and then online. So for example, like, having a whiteboard for a teacher is, like, a very good, like, resource, right? But, like, they can't do that digitally, or they can, but it's very slow. And for example, we were doing syntaxis, right? Which is analyzing a sentence, basically. And the teacher, she'd, like, take, like, 5 minutes to do each sentence, whereas she would normally take a minute or less. And it's kind of, like, disrupting the classes.
Yeah, I know a lot of, for me, like, a bunch of my classes are discussion based. And so now everything's being moved online, even with things like Zoom and Google Meet and all that sort of stuff. It's still difficult to, like, kind of go through the motions of having a discussion-based class. And a lot of my teachers have just decided to kind of do away with it because it's too difficult. And then they just assign more work. And that's kind of like endless cycle, it feels like sometimes.
And I also want to bring up, like, which I don't know if there is even a lot of discussion outside of our discussions being had, but even a lot of awareness or support around first generation students, whether it's high school or even college, where through all of this, they don't have any family members or people who, outside of when they were in school, probably counselors to have as support. I know for me, I'm going through this kind of alone. Like, I have some people, like old teachers from high school and, like, some counselors from school that I'm allowed to text to kind of keep me sane, but I don't have the, like, parents who've gone to college or has had higher education, who's going through higher education to talk to, as even, like, someone who couldn't understand, as someone to understand. Like, a lot of times growing up in, like, I'm Puerto Rican, so I grew up in a Latino household, and, like, it's always, well, if you work harder, like good things will come, this, that, and the third. But like, and mental health in minority families a lot of times are overlooked and not like seen as a real thing. So it's always a struggle trying to have my parents see viewpoints of like my understanding and like my frustrations with how schools are handling COVID-19 and their response to it. Oh, Ayana.
With a lot of these problems that a lot of students are experiencing, do you think that there are ways for schools to accommodate the students' needs? Like, can you ask your teacher for breaks? Can you ask them to slow down the workload? Do you think there are any ways, or have there been ways of your teachers and a lot of the people around you reaching out to help you through this time?
My school, for example, has given us like forms. So every week they'll give us a form, and there's like in one of the forms, for example, there was each subject, and it would ask you to put which teacher you had in that subject, and then like different points, like how is their communication? Are they giving too much assignments? Do you understand the classes and such? And I think it was pretty good.
A news conference with the President of the United States, members of his coronavirus task force. We want to welcome once again our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. This is a special edition of the Situation Room. The President, there wasn't a whole lot, 4.5 that we heard from the President. He kept making a point about that might be successful in dealing with the coronavirus.
So if you're not speaking, can you make sure to mute yourself, just so we can hear the folks who are speaking.
Go ahead and try.
I don't know, Alexis, if you want to repeat the question that you had asked.
Wait for full tests. So all the doctors are saying.
Do you guys feel as if your schools are working to help accommodate your needs? What are some ways that you guys have seen, or some ways that you think they can do to help with processing all that's going on and the problems that a lot of people are having?
I think my school's doing an okay job kind of trying to accommodate the needs. I think a lot of teachers are reaching out and just saying, you know, if you need a break from the work, try to give us, like, send an email, but even if you do, sometimes they don't really like respond in a way that you need them to. Like, they won't really lower the workload, or they'll just say, oh, maybe we can try to give you an extension is great, but you know, a lot of them, I know they're trying to reach out and just say, if you want to do Google Meet or like a video chat, it's like a class just for like emotional reasons, like if anyone just wants to talk. Like, I know a lot of my teachers are reaching out in that aspect, which is really nice, even if it's not really about the work.
At my school, my student council right now is trying to work on like a forum poll through Instagram and social media to try and get feedback from students to bring to the board, but it would all be anonymous. So for students who don't feel comfortable like direct messaging their teacher, the work is too much, my technology isn't working, we can have more of like an anonymous open poll where it'd be coming from the student body through student council. So that's what my school is trying to do.
My school district actually has a team of about like 30 or 40 social workers and people who work in student support in my district who are working to provide like the social distance, like learning, but making it more like social emotional based. So a lot of social workers I know are doing individual calls with the students they would have seen otherwise. Some like other things like developing online curriculum that can be distributed, and like kind of trying to be aware, because a lot of kids at my school are like ENL or ESL, so like being mindful of how that communication can happen and not just relying on like parents to be there like advocating. I think the thing I'm most worried about right now is like kids being able to advocate for themselves, whereas it might have been like a teacher or another educator in the building.
I feel like at my school, because I go to a really small school in Fresno, the teachers are like more lenient with our due dates. Most of them are actually. Like they'll email us and they'll say that if you're just having trouble, if you're like struggling with like whatever's going on at home, because like it is a really tough emotional time, they said, then just to email them and make sure, and they'll be lenient with the due dates just so we can get it done when we can get it done and not have to worry about it if we're struggling with something else at home.
I feel like it's a mix at my school. I feel like some teachers are very understanding and have sent us, like emails saying like, if this is too much, like we can figure out something else. But then there was at the same time teachers just assigning way more than we've ever even had in regular instruction, and using the idea and keep saying like, no, we need to keep this up, we're gonna fall behind, like we're not in regular school, and just like almost like compensating for that, like I was talking about earlier. So I think it's mixed, but I also feel like I take an art class and I'm getting a lot of work from that, which is like an elective. And I almost feel like the electives, like that work should be optional because I have a research paper due tomorrow for my art class. And I also have like, like my core classes that I'm worried about. And I don't know if I personally don't know if it makes sense for electives to be assigning work like research papers. But I don't know. I kind of feel like my school is doing a mixed response.
For me, I know my school is like, I have some professors who are very like mental health first and school later mindset, which is much appreciated because I have like my communications professor. She gave the first week, she puts all these things on discussion boards, wants us to do a separate document and get all these quotes and notes from a reading and then answer all these other students. And that if we don't do it, she takes attendance I don't know why she takes attendance. And she says that after the first week you have, if you don't do it on time, that she's gonna start taking points off of your grade, which is kind of like, what is the point? It's like we're living through a pandemic and you're worrying about me answering a discussion board on time. It just is so unethical and it stresses me all the way out. But for some of the good professors, like they're very lenient and things like that. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
I know like a lot of people are saying like we do get a lot of work and like I know we do and sometimes it is a struggle, but I'm also like kind of grateful that we still do because there's like in my county there's some schools that are actually holding back like all their students because they're not grading them on the work they're doing. So that's the only part that I'm grateful for, that we're actually getting work, is that I won't have to repeat my junior year again because it was like the worst year of my life.
I mean, I think it's a good thing in a sense if for people who don't have like a lot of work to like for the teachers to give more work, but I think it's definitely a thin line between when you assign a lot of work and you want it all done as like certain due dates instead of assigning work and having it run as like an asynchronous class, meaning like you can go on and do it whenever you can in a sense, and then like as long as it's done by like the end of the semester or the end of the year, all the work, then that's good. But I can't with the professors or teachers that still want things like on same due dates, like we're not living through something crazy.
I think it's also really difficult because there's no standards. Like, you can definitely tell, like, it's different from school to school. Some people are saying that they're not getting as much work and that they wish they were getting more, which is totally understandable. And then, like, I feel like in my situation, like, we're getting a lot of work and I wish that we got a lot less. But then I understand, like, I probably would be in the same boat of feeling like, oh, we're not doing enough work, we should catch up. And I think it's also just really difficult because there's no guidelines. There's no one knows what they're doing, and it's difficult for everyone to just kind of figure out like, where do we stand in this and this. And then, I mean, when this is all over, I mean, schools are already in different places already, but I think we can imagine just how absolutely terrible it's going to be, because there really is just going to be like this, it's going to split everybody up into like, these people have these advantages and these people don't. And at the end of this, it's just going to be like a hellhole. Sorry. excuse my language.
Yeah, I have a few teachers who are being like really supportive. So they'll give us like a whole period where they just like talk to us about the situation, and they'll just like go picking out different people and asking them like if they're very filled with work, what they're doing, like if they've taken up any hobbies or anything. And it's just like kind of helpful. It's kind of like a break from the rest because you're like going at it all day with like all the work, and then you have like a period where you just get to like cool off. And it's really helpful.
Yeah, I really agree with the sentiment that things need to be more centralized. I think it's interesting that we hear a lot of press briefings from the White House about just the pandemic itself, but I feel like maybe the Department of Education or local education organizations should really try to maybe take it a notch up and really have these addresses or provide resources to teachers so we don't see this disparity of response.
I definitely agree with all of you guys. I do think that there needs to be a change in how we're approaching students being able to take breaks and have access to support. So what are some ways that you guys think we can better focus on student-centered learning and the needs that students need during this time?
I think maybe one thing that we could do, and just brainstorming ideas, at least we could try to maybe like write letters or essays to send to our local governments saying, hey, you know, this is what's going on with the pandemic. Here are some specific things we recommend maybe you could do to address these education disparities, because what's happening in Broward County, Florida may impact those people. But if I go and I say, oh, let's do it for all of the districts, that's not going to be helpful.
Just like an idea. So my local, my school district is partnering with our local PBS station and doing most of the classes, but especially focusing on, again, like that social emotional element. They're broadcasting it on TV because it tends to be that many more people have like a TV than they would a computer or a laptop. But I don't know, like maybe working and seeing if your local like PBS station, I don't know if this is happening at other cities or other places, but just an idea.
I know for me, I have had my deans tell me to make sure that I contact them if any professors aren't like cooperating or being understanding for any kind of reasons that you're going through, or any of your personal reasons that you're going through all of this, and they'll make sure. I don't know if any students that's in high schools or other like different institutions can reach out to like their administration or assistant principals or principals, or even, I don't know, take it as far as contacting the superintendent of your areas to see if they can, what like way can students kind of advocate for themselves around how they want to go through the rest of their learning through COVID-19, and not kind of leaving it up for the teachers to kind of decide how, because they're also very confused. So I think if we take it a step further in contacting the higher ups to see if we can kind of co-partner and work together to create an action plan to finish out the rest of the year, and potentially, I don't know about other states, but Jersey, my semester in the fall might be online still. So even if, and depending on what state you're in, if you want to take it further, talk about the rest of the school year as well.
I definitely agree that I think it starts, or it can start, with the administrations in our own schools. Like a little while back, this was this week actually, I was taking a test for AP Gov on the College Board website, and the test booted me out in the middle. Like I wasn't even finished and the website booted me out. Now, luckily I was able to jump on my mom's computer, and then but while all of it was going on, I was trying to contact my teacher and he wasn't answering. So I definitely think that if I wasn't lucky enough to be able to finish my test and my teacher wasn't really helping me during it, that could have been a really bad situation that could have been avoided if my teacher was online during a test he was given. But I definitely think that any problem like that, we could be able to talk to our administrations, and so maybe they could talk to the teachers. If you don't always feel comfortable having that direct, hi, ex-teacher, this happened, because not all students feel comfortable talking to their teachers like that. But if there was something like a student council, a student board rep in each school that could be an intermediary between the students, teachers, and administration, I think that would help everyone.
Maybe in the school you could do, this is a crazy idea, but you could do a form and send it to school, to students and to the teachers. See the results of how they're living this situation, if they are okay with the homework, if the teachers think they're giving too much or too little work, and why they're giving that amount of work. And then when you have the results, if you have a student council or something in the school, you can talk to administration and say, hey, this is what's happening in our school. I think we could change some parts so that it's easy for everyone and we are not so stressed, and maybe have some time, because our school, I start at 8 and I finish for 10, but I am always until 7 working on homework or more sometimes. And there's things that I luckily some teachers are understanding, and I said, hey, I couldn't finish. Can I finish for 2 days, in 2 days? And they say, yes, finish for tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, thank you for giving me extra time. But yes, we could do something like that, do a form, and so that maybe the principal or administration know how we are living the situation.
Yes, actually, I'm from Argentina, and I go with the boy that just talked with Mateo. And I think it's very important that schools actually give students that space they need to actually reflect or say what their opinion about all this historical movement, let's say. Luckily, my school is giving us a ton of, well, they're trying to make us students give reflective moments and talk about the things, well, I don't know how to explain myself, but the things that are actually stressing us out or making us feeling, I don't know, uncomfortable with the situation and all that stuff. So I think that forms really do help. And if any of you go to a school and maybe you don't get that attention of how are you feeling with this movement and how are you actually doing a school, if you're stressing out all the time or you're just relaxed, maybe you should propose your teachers or your head of year or someone that can hear you to actually make students talk about how are they doing, and if they can help you organize, I don't know, it could be good.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, I think it's probably scarce the amount of teachers and professors who even like taken a minute at the beginning of class to acknowledge and like ask how people are doing and actually provide space for that. Like, I'm curious how many people are experiencing that, or just experiencing teachers and educators who are just kind of going straight to content and ignoring it.
I'm hearing a lot of good things about how we can approach talking about our needs and trying to get access to the things that we really need. Do you guys think there are expectations we can set on how to operate to make it easier for students, or what are the expectations, if you feel like there are already expectations that we should have to make sure that we're making it easier for students.
We're having a pretty, sorry.
I think a good thing that we could do is maybe like have a standard Google form that maybe schools could use. So like if they have a complaint or they feel like that something isn't being addressed, but they don't want to say it directly, they can just use the Google form and they would have an instantaneous response.
I know we're kind of talking about some of this in the chat right now. Especially like for my school, like I was saying, we have until midnight to complete all of the work that we've been given. And I mean, I was up till literally like 11:59 submitting things like a couple nights ago, and they're supposed to only give up to like an hour of work, but obviously they're not following that. And even though people are saying things, it's just like sometimes it feels like they're not listening. So I'm glad that I have at least this like outlet to kind of talk through everything, and I know someone suggested that I look at like a website, and I'm gonna definitely do that. So thank you guys.
Oh yeah, I went in that website and it like, I don't know if it has to do something with like how I'm not from that school, but it like won't let me get in. I don't know if there's like something I have to do.
Oh, for the Syracuse City Schools. That one?
Yeah.
There might be like some login area, but if you just like scroll down to latest news, they've been doing categories every day of different ways that students and families can be like more mindful and like practice good mental health. So I think if you just scroll down to latest news below those boxes, you should be able to access it.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for all of you. Like, do you feel you're getting more stressed than going actually physically to school, or like that?
I would say so, just because I feel like there's no structure. Like, I think school, when you're there physically, can be stressful, but at least you sort of know what to expect. But I think at a time like this, every teacher has had a different response, and clearly, at least in my experience, they don't really know what they're doing either. And I think we're sort of all feeding off of each other of just not knowing what's going to be going on and still feeling like we should be getting the same educational experience, even though the circumstances are completely different.
But
yeah,
do you get sorry.
I'm from the same school district as Sadie, and we haven't, and Emmy, and we haven't officially started up classes again because we were on spring break this last week. And so even though we have like a rough outline of what our online learning is supposed to look like, none of our teachers, at least in my experience, have reached out with like more specific information about how they're going to be structuring their classes. So I have no idea like the amount of work that I'm going to have, or like whether or not there's going to be like set class periods, like Zoom meetings. Like nothing's been explained.
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely more stressed about turning in my work because I don't have all my classes every single day like usual. Like they're spread out throughout the week, and without being in class every day and being constantly reminded of what I have to turn in, I've been like procrastinating like way more and turning in my stuff really late because I'm not being constantly reminded about my due dates by my teachers.
Oh yeah, I actually had an idea for that. So like, so a lot of students, this would also solve the problem where there's too much homework or like not enough communication between teachers. So using like Google Calendar, you make a Google Calendar for each class, or at least that's possible in my school. I know that some schools have very like diverse schedules for different students, but you could set up a Google Calendar for the class or the student, and the teachers go adding in assignments or like when they have to have class and what format that class will have. And then you can, so you'll get notifications for your different assignments and classes, and that way you can keep yourself like updated.
Yeah,
Also,
um, yeah, maybe we could also share our homework for the week or for the next 2 weeks with the professor, because maybe they sometimes they don't take on account that there's other subjects on the school. So um, if we actually say, hey, we have five homeworks for this week, you actually can't put us anymore, because in our school we can't have more than 5 or 6 compromises per week on the same week.
due dates.
Yes, exactly. So then the professor says, okay, you can, let's pass it to the next week or other day, so that we are more organized, and again, so that the teacher and the student start knowing how they live, because we actually don't know how us as students, or at least in my case, we don't know how much or how the teachers are living this situation.
I believe that above all, maybe you're stressed about all the homework or due dates, or I don't know, like digital task or test. I think it's very important to have a balance, and maybe when you finish your homework or when you finish school, you stop and you go and do another thing that is not connected to, I don't know, Netflix or things like that, like virtually. Like go outside if you have a backyard. I don't know, run, do some exercise, play with your dog, play with your brother, sister, do something else to distract your mind and disconnect. I think it's probably, I've done it and I am doing it all of the days, because obviously I can't go out and hang with my friends or things like that. So it's important to have that balance between school and your personal life. When, like, I don't know, but I truly believe that it's important to know that and just apply it to your life on quarantine, because maybe you're going to be less stressed out and you're more motivated to do homeworks or study for your test or things like that. Well, that helps for me. Maybe it doesn't for you, but
Yes. It's like definitely important to take a break from everything that's like virtual and all that stuff, because we're constantly using our devices for online school. So I feel like what Paula said, like read something or maybe draw or find a hobby that can like disconnect you from the other things. And now I think that we like associate virtual with like work. So it's kind of like nice to have a break outside or go with your family to play board games. I don't know, but it's like, I think you have to find what Paula said, that balance between something that you like that probably doesn't involve your devices, and then of course doing your work.
I totally agree, and I think that something that's really helpful and not all teachers are taking into account is that sometimes they're not clear about the tasks we have to complete, and it makes it really difficult, because if you have to ask them like make questions about what you have to do and send them an email and wait till their answer, it's like really complicated, and you spend lots of time waiting for their answer and start doing your work.
I agree 100% about needing to find a balance. So what are some specific ways? I know we've talked about, finding a hobby or something that you truly enjoy to separate yourself from the madness of digital learning, but like what are some other ways that you guys have found have helped you stay more relaxed or calm or feel more organized, or if there are any ways to come up with ways to strike that balance with your teachers as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of tried to like recreate my school schedule just at home, so waking up at the same time, doing all of my regular routine things as much as I can from my house, and making like a to-do list every day to just know what I'm responsible for, know when things are due, and then like I have it like by 5 o'clock I like to be done, and like whatever's not done by 5, I just whatever it is what it is. And that like setting a structure at a time with no structure has really helped me, and just like it's helped me identify like what days are which, and it has given that structure. But also, like we were talking about before, like finding something that like gives you happiness has also really helped me. Like taking that like mental break has also been helpful.
And I have a question for you. Sorry, am I pronouncing right your name, Sage?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thanks. And doing this to-do list and getting organized and that stuff, do you feel you're less stressed that you would be if you didn't have that organization and routine?
Yes, I just feel like with this, I'm able to like visualize and see if, okay, on Wednesday, this needs to be turned in.
That's awesome.
Right. And like, just like, I think I'm a visual learner. So just seeing my week ahead on a visual space is just helpful for me. Obviously that probably won't work for everyone, but I think that's just how I work, just planning it out like that. But yeah, no, it has helped reduce the stress.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I have like a huge notebook that I've just been like writing in a whole lot every day. But one of my favorite things that I've been trying to do every day, it doesn't happen every day, is just like walking around my neighborhood and calling a new friend every day. So it's either like someone I like would see every day normally at school, or someone I haven't talked to in a year or two who I want to reconnect with. And I feel like that's a nice way to like, you know, get outside, but also and like connect with someone while still practicing like physical distancing.
Yeah, like having something that you do every day, like during the quarantine, I think really helps just keep like your day to day, like keep you like, I don't know, less stressed. So for example, I've been cooking a lot, like a lot to the point where my mom's getting kind of mad. But yeah, and I think it's kind of like helpful to just like calm down and just like focus on something else.
For me, what's been helpful is like dreaming at night and remembering my dreams, because especially like when you live in an apartment, quarantine gets really boring because like I just get scared because I'm like, oh my god, so many hands have interacted with the door of like my building and stuff, like I could actually get it. So I just stay inside. But dreaming, it's like I'm not under quarantine and I have something fun to talk about. My friend's like, hey, I had a crazy dream that like I was on a roller coaster and a dinosaur was chasing me on the roller coaster. And it's just, yeah, it's something we talk about.
I totally agree with you. My friends and I, we've been doing like dream debriefs, not every day, but like pretty regularly. We all keep having these like vivid dreams. So that's kind of fun too. It is like definitely not a quarantined activity. So that's kind of nice.
And hello, everybody. I apologize for my late coming. My name is Winston. I wanted to ask if any of the discussions have centered around some of the economic impacts that this has been having.
Yeah, in Argentina, there's been like major lockdown. So people, for example, can't leave their house unless if you have a pet, right? So if you have a pet, you can leave during like a designated time. It's very strict. And there's been like a lot of businesses had to like shut down for a while. So, and only the essential businesses are allowed to like keep open. So, just like food, like places that like sell you like I don't know, it's very basic, and I think that's like like affecting everyone on a way that like we can't leave, but also there are a lot of things that we can't get anymore. So yeah.
Thank you, Marcos.
So I know that our time together is almost over, unfortunately. I think we can use these last final minutes to maybe share out something that's been something that you can take in and incorporate into your daily schedule or take back to your own community, and how we can use this time positively.
I don't remember who said it, but someone said that their school was like partnering with the local like I think they said PBS station. I thought that was really smart, so that like people who don't necessarily have access to computers can still like watch the lessons on TV. So I might try to like talk to some teachers and see if like I can bring that up to my administration.
I think also having student representatives that can kind of work as liaisons between like the administration and like adult side of things and like student concerns is also something that could be super helpful to set up. I don't know who mentioned that, but I thought it was helpful.
One thing I'm thinking about is I've been having conversations with principals and districts, and it's like become very evident which districts have done a good job engaging students before all of this, because those are the ones who are reaching out to students and asking them what they think, and those who have not, and thus like are not asking students about planning. So do you think it would be helpful if we had some kind of like email template or something for folks to be able to send to a principal to like offer to like have a conversation with them about what's working and not working? Or like I know people have mentioned a standardized feedback form. That's something we can also make for you to include in that email, or like some kind of thing that would be easier to streamline for you, so there's like one less thing for you all to do.
Definitely. I think establishing something where all students have the opportunity, an accessible opportunity to just like, you know, like say their feedback and have be heard by their administration could be really helpful during this time.
Yes, totally. And I think that it's very important for students to have their voice, and to teachers know how do students feel, and if they're getting well with their due dates and all of the stuff we talked before.
Yeah. And who better to talk about the students than the students themselves, and have like representatives that know how they feel, and just like between friends, I feel like it's very useful because there's a different point of view than there is for the teachers or the administration or the staff. So I feel like having someone that's at the same level, to say, like at the same point of view that you are, is really helpful, because you get all of these very valuable information that you wouldn't get from any other person.
Yeah, and also having a good connection with the teachers, between teachers and students, so that we can live in sanity, and us respects the students and the teacher, us respects the teacher and the teacher respects the students. And I forgot what was I going to say, but
Well, I think the discussion, and by the way, sorry I'm not on video. I'm only in a dark room. But the discussion about respect is a very important one that ought to be reinforced. Sometimes older, at least Americans, I can't speak for other countries, but are hesitant to listen to the opinions of younger individuals solely on the basis that age equals authority, which is not always valid. So increasing dialogue, I do agree, would help to close that gap and create respect, mutual respect on both sides.
Yeah, and also these meetings, today I learned a lot about how United States is living it because I'm from Argentina. So I did not know that there were some similar stuff that were happening that were happening here in Argentina that was also happening in the United States. So I'm happy to know that we're not the only one.
Thank you so much, everyone, for making the time to join us tonight. And thank you so much, Alexis, for facilitating the loveliest conversation. I think this has given me a lot of hope about how we can, make this better for students, and we'll continue to try to create more spaces like these for y'all to have and exchange ideas. And we're also starting a series starting Tuesday, April 14th, of intergenerational dialogue. So similar to this conversation, but with some teachers. So if that seems like an interesting format to where you can share these ideas with teachers at your school or teachers from different schools, we definitely encourage y'all to come to those. And we'll be posting all the information for all of these things on our social media. So we're at STU_voice on Twitter and Instagram. And thank you all so much. This has been a really, really lovely, lovely way to end the Sunday evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a good week.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. I have a question. The social media was at STU?
Yes, I'll type it in the chat. It's at STU_voice. So it's like Stu Voice.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Great to meet you. Great to see you.